Perfect segue then into the innovation series that you're working with.
Yes, thank you. We are so thrilled. We are working with the African Leadership Academy, which is an amazing school started up by two entrepreneurs. It is a school which focuses on secondary education, particularly the latter 2 years of secondary education. It recruits from students all across Africa, finds the brightest and the most gifted student. And in many, I would say about 85% of the student body is on scholarship. These are incredibly impressive young people. We've been working with the Academy in exploring how could we inspire the rest of the continent, inspire other young people, and put the message out there that they need to dream, they can continue to innovate, and that type of spirit should be rewarded. So we came up with a program. It's called the Anzisha Prize. Anzisha is a Swahili word which literally means to launch oneself, to launch your idea, to launch your dream. And we put out a call for a competition. We got about 186 applications. This is the first time we've ever done it in 22 countries. We screened it down to 8 finalists who we brought to South Africa a couple weeks ago, and we selected 3 of them. But I have to say, all of them were winners. All of them were winners because they had demonstrated innovation, and oftentimes in the face of great challenges and obstacles, but with their own ingenuity, they overcame. So could I tell you about a couple of them?
I want you to. How old are they first?
First of all, this prize is for young people under the age of 22. We had the youngest contestant was 16, and I think the oldest contestant was 22 years old. So one of the...
Okay, you got to tell us about all of them.
I'll tell you as many as I can. The woman who captured my heart is 19 years old. Her name is Antoinette Furaha. She is actually a Congolese refugee who is living in Uganda in a refugee camp. She's been living there for the last 5 years. She got there when she was 14 years old. And her story is dramatic because she and her family, mostly she and her mother and a couple siblings, fled the war. Her father was killed. It was an extraordinarily traumatic time. They entered the refugee camp and they were literally destitute. And Antoinette, her mother was in such despair. And Antoinette decided that 1 week, in order to ensure that the family could eat, she would work as a domestic helper for that 1 week. She didn't go to school. And after that 1 week, she earned $1. She took that dollar and worked again, and she transformed, would you believe it, that dollar into $170 by starting out a microcredit group within the camp. Today, Antoinette's program serves 5,000 people in this camp. And you just imagine what a young woman who has gone through an unbelievable experience, yet at the same time has retained in her heart that positive energy and that focus that I'm going to do something with my life, but also I'm going to do something for my community. She's been able through this microfinance program to actually help the women in her community purchase a couple grinders, which they grind their maize, which they sell. Some of the proceeds from their enterprise actually funds the education of 60 young orphans at the camp. So it is a story which is not only demonstrates innovation and courage, but it also demonstrates the power of community and the power of one young person who could actually, ignite a community.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And there were other incredible young people too.
They certainly were. Our first prize winner was a young man. He's 19 years old as well. His name is Mwale. He had grown up poor in a very rural part of Kenya. And he told us his story. He said that water and access to clean water has been such a problem. And 1 year, his entire village was just stricken with dysentery. And while he was in the hospital, he was lying there thinking, what can I do? And so this is a young man, again, in a very, very modest, humble circumstances, who took it upon himself to do some research and to educate himself. He discovered that nearby, within his village, particularly around a particular tree, that he could access clean water. He raised the money through some very interesting negotiations with probably the wealthiest person, and again, wealthy is a very relative term, the wealthiest person in his village.
I got to stop you right there, because you said interesting negotiations. That just is really loaded.
Okay, I have
what
to
does
tell
that
you,
mean?
His father had, Joel's father had left them some land, but they had no money to actually use that land. And so he did a trade. He basically told this man, you can use our land, but in exchange for this land, I need an advance. I need $5,000 so I can invest not only in digging this borehole, but also getting a machine to purify the water, and I will pay it back to you. But and it was a 2-month negotiation. So they did a trade. And today, Joel has a bottling business. He sells 30,000 bottles of clean water a month.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. He is also now a student at the African Leadership Academy. And more than anything else, when we talked to him about, why did you do this? And aside from that story about dysentery, why did you do this? And if Coca-Cola came to you tomorrow and said they would like to buy this business for $100,000, would you sell it? And he just smiled and he said, I would not. I'm doing this because I want to ensure that people have access to clean water. And this is a business, but it's also much more than that. It's about social change and about creating good in my community.
Wow. I don't know how there's any way to top any of that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be sure to direct people to the MasterCard Foundation website, because there's more stories there. And Reeta, I think what we should do is just catch up with you next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.